So apparently I am a red flag and I don't speak any sense, because I said that the majority of men do not like to see women doing better than them. I have to say that when I speak, I don't just speak because it's a thought that popped into my head and I'm like, oh yeah, well, men don't like women. And that's not how it is with me. If I'm talking to people about a topic, it's because I've seen behavioural patterns. I'm like nearly 50 years old now, so I've witnessed things throughout my life. I listen to people's stories and I'm thinking, flipping heck, that is exactly the experiences that I've had. And, people do reach out to me and they tell me these stories, and I see the comments. I also read up about things. I like psychology. I find it really interesting to find out about, psychology of human beings. And when I have in the past had issues with men in business, and I'm like, is this me? And I'll do research. I'm like, no, this is not me. The statistics are showing that men will not be overtly difficult. They will not be overtly disrespectful, but subtle behavioural patterns that they do. And it's a way of trying to put a woman in her place and making her feel lesser than, because she's the one who's like in control of the situation. They try and dismiss you, your thoughts, your views. They label you as difficult, hard to work with. When if it was a man, it'd just be, oh, he's a leader, he's strong. Boundaries that cannot be crossed. But yet, when we do that, we get labels, negative labels. When a man does that, he gets positive labels. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so from my personal experience, I have a social media page at the moment. I think combined, I have like 1 million followers on multiple different platforms, okay? There's a little fly floating around. And I have noticed, since I have been focusing on my social media, which has been like 3-4 years, that there are certain patterns of behaviour. And I don't just speak, like I said, I don't just speak for speaking's sake. I'm speaking at this point because I've seen these patterns of behaviours, and I'm now speaking out against them, because I don't feel like I should have to put up with people speaking badly about me because of what I have, who I am, how successful I am. I do not go and disrespect anybody. But if somebody comes to disrespect me, you best believe I'm going to stand up for myself in the politest way possible, okay? But I'm going to give you some examples, okay, of how women are diminished when it comes to being successful. So I was reading about a scientist the other day. I cannot remember her name, but she was like one of the founders of modern day science, okay? And she would try and publish her findings, but because she was a woman, she wasn't allowed to, because the men didn't believe that her findings were real. The men that sat on the boards did not believe that a woman could be more intelligent than them. Example number one. That same woman would have her findings, and many men came along, took her findings, elaborated on it just a little bit, and then marked it as their own. Another example of men not being able to stand to see women doing better than them. For example, there was a famous writer I was reading about the other day, and he's not the one who does the writing. He wasn't the one. This was in the 1800s, I think, or early 1900s. He wasn't the one who did the writing. It was his wife. But because she was female, the men at the print houses would not publish her work. The publicists would not promote her work, because a woman couldn't have possibly written something that was intellectually stimulating. Of course not. She was just a lowly woman. So her husband, who supported her, who's one of the ones I was talking about, put everything in his name so that her works could be published. Now, that's what I'm talking about, a true cheerleader for women. But in modern day, I'll talk from my own experiences. When I post a video and maybe I'm sat in my car, I will have men degrade me, and I could be talking about the most random thing, and tell me that I look ugly, that I look this, and that I look that. Now, okay, we don't all have the same tastes, okay? Today I have no makeup on, so that is what it is. But I know I'm not ugly, okay? I am maybe average, maybe I'm above average. Some people find me exceptionally beautiful, but I'm just me. But if a man goes on a woman's page and she's talking about maybe her experience at, I don't know, flying to Florida. Oh, I went to Florida, had this amazing time. And men go onto that comment section and comment about how ugly she is, about, oh, you're only sat in your car so you can show off your car. You're only using hand gestures so you can show off your watch. That's jealousy. That's not normal thinking. A normal, logical thinking person doesn't think like that, doesn't say those things. That is jealousy. Whether you want to believe it or not, it is jealousy talking. And it usually comes from men. The most hate that I get on social media is from men. And when I posted my post about men not liking women doing better than themselves, I had so many women DM me telling me that they had this exact experience in the workplace. You know, they had colleagues who were not in as high a position as them, who weren't earning as much, who would make their job very difficult. They wouldn't do anything in particular, but they were very offhand. They weren't helpful. It was a problem for them that she was in a position higher than them. I have women telling me that their husbands couldn't stand them earning more money and they ended up having to have a divorce. I had women saying that, in fact, a woman said she had to hide her promotions from her husband because it caused so many problems in their marriage. And you're telling me that I'm a red flag because I'm trying to enlighten you that there are men out there like that. Yes, you might go to the pub with them. Yes, they might be your friends, but you do not know their thinking when it comes to women being successful and having more than them, because you are their peer. You cannot see it. Us as women, we see it, we experience it, we feel it. We have higher emotional intelligence than men do. So we are feeling these things. I'm going to say something. There were multiple men in the comments who said, like, I would so support my wife if she was doing better than me. I love that. I absolutely love that. And you are one of those cheerleaders. But then I saw a man or a couple of men saying, oh, well, if my wife was doing well, I'd be a stay-at-home dad. Sorry, so she has to marry you, birth your children, and be the breadwinner? Why are you not aspiring to be an equal to her instead of putting extra pressure on her that she has to financially provide for you as well? Guys, please, please. I know that you don't like hearing it. There's lots of things us women do as well. But in this particular topic, I was talking about men. Open your eyes.